Hey guys, thanks for clicking on this video. Today I will be talking through how long it takes for a student to learn the flute, basically how long it'll take before a student can play through a short piece of music, as well as some tips on improving the flute quickly in sort of the context where you need to cram a short piece or a song for an event. Let's get started. So the first question, how long it takes to learn the flute? Basically, it depends on every student and it changes with every student. It really depends heavily on the amount of time that they invest in practicing. Obviously, the more consistent they are able to practice, the smoother their improvement will be. There are certain things that can't be rushed, such as the development of muscle control around the lips, as well as your ability to change fingerings fluently between all the different notes. In general, students who take their time to develop good technique and practice consistently throughout the week, so I'm talking around about 5 to 6 times a week, should be able to play a short 8-bar tune within 1 to 2 months. The reason why students should take their time to set up their technique correctly is so that they can save time in the future to avoid having to go back and correct any unhelpful habits that they might have developed. Some examples of unhelpful habits can include positioning the flute too high or too low, or creating an embouchure hole that's too big or too small that doesn't lend well to creating a really resonant tone, as well as sloppy finger positions that don't help the student develop efficient finger technique in the future. So long story short, it really boils down to 2 things: how well you set up your technique from the get-go, as well as the amount of time you invest in practicing and applying those skills that you learn in your flute lessons. And the following tips are for those of you who have absolutely no flute playing experience but would like to learn a short piece of music or song that you are wanting to perform for an event. I get it, you might have heard on the internet somewhere a really lovely song or piece of music that you'd really like to be able to play, but you're not super interested in studying flute hardcore and getting to do exams. If you're a complete beginner who's never played flute before, the first thing you should be focusing on is being able to make a solid, steady, clear sound just on the head joint. It also really helps if you have a flute that works properly, as if you are playing on an instrument that is rubbish, then it actually makes it more difficult for you to be able to actually play properly. This should take up about 5 to 10 minutes of your daily flute practice, just so that you're getting your lip muscles used to creating the shape it needs to hold a steady sound. Once you're able to consistently produce a sound on the head joint, the next thing would be to transfer that onto the entire flute together. Now, this is generally a little bit more challenging because you don't have as much control of the angle that you're playing on the flute because your hands are down on the middle joint. But if you just keep trying, it will happen, trust me. At this point, it would also be great if you can somehow try to hold a note for between 2 to 4 counts. So just holding a note for 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 4. So once you're able to make a sound consistently every time you pick up the flute, the next step would be to portion out your air a little bit better so that you can start to hold notes for longer than 4 beats. Maybe around about 6. If you can get to 6 or 8 beats, you're pretty much set. Now, if something isn't sounding right, even if you've got the right embouchure set up and you're putting down the right fingerings, if the instrument hasn't been serviced within the last 12 months, it's probably a good idea to take it to a repair technician. If you are needing to learn a song or a piece of music in a really short amount of time, make sure you go for something that's realistic and not way out of your depth. If it has some crazy technical passages, unless you're this crazy prodigy, you're probably not going to be able to pull it off. So once you get your sheet music, download a flute fingering chart and circle all the notes that you need to know for this song or piece of music that you're learning. If you can also find a recording of the song or music, that would be even better, because it always helps to have an idea of what the music is supposed to sound like in your head before you start to play. If the music has a lot of repeated notes that don't need frequent fingering changes, you've picked well. But if there are a lot of fingering changes, then that's okay too. Just take your time to learn the fingering slowly and work on 2 to 4 bars max at a time. Your aim should be to get familiar with the fingering changes in those bars so that your hands develop a muscle memory of those changes, which will enable you to play through short passages or sections without stopping or hesitating. Then you just repeat this process until you work through the whole piece of music and until you are able to play through it without stopping or hesitating. You gradually increase the amount of bars that you work on. So for example, if you start off with 2 to 4 bars, you might start to work on 4 to 8 bars and then 12 to 16 bars before stringing the whole piece together eventually. Hopefully by doing this process, you'll get to a point where you're able to play through the entire song or piece of music without stopping and have all those note changes under your fingers. And there you have it, a rough guide on how to cram a piece of music or song as a complete beginner and some ways that you can approach working on a piece of music, as well as answering the question how long it takes for a student to learn the flute. Hopefully this video has helped you in some way with your flute playing. If you've made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching. Happy fluting, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.